HHDG.
Peace, HHDG. We're on another episode of HHDG Media podcast. As always, big shout out to our HHDG Media Inc. crew, Rock Vader KB, the Mayor, myself, Wiki, T. Smith, and Skelly Top. Shout out to the whole Facebook group, hip hop discussion group that's checking in right now. Shout out to y'all. It's also New Release Fridays. New Snoop Dogg came out. Got a bunch of singles that came out. There's a Notch remix of a track with Blue that came out and a few other artists. Shout out to OG Enoch and Knives out of New Orleans. They got a new album out. Best of Both Worlds. Man, Currency and Alchemist came out today as well. Some UK hip hop from Michael Parkinson. Shout out to him. And you know that there's a lot more out there I can speak on, but for tonight, we're going to speak about an artist coming out of Philly who at a young age sparked a big interest in people. And she was on a well-known album at first and then another one within the same year, you know. And from there, you know, I've heard a voice on other tracks where it might not have said that she was featured on because it might have been just, you know, just the ad lib. But if you knew her voice, you knew who it was. Very lyrically talented. And when we go further into this interview, find out what else she's been doing throughout the years. Coming out of Philly, Shortie, no mas.
Hey.
How you doing?
How are you?
Good. Now, as we were just recently talking, you sparked a big interest in like, who's this? You know, this young MC.
Right.
You know, tell us just, you know, briefly how the whole coming on the De La Soul album and how that worked with connecting with them with your manager, Mr. Nichols. Mm-hmm. Rest in peace to him.
Mm-hmm. You know, just young, 14, 15. I lived in Philly. Rhymed, loved to rhyme. Basically hooked up with Rich Nichols through Hubbard, rest in peace as well. He introduced me to Rich through a talent contest. Rich managed me for a while. This was prior to him managing the Roots. And he took me to a show. He was just always promoting me as an MC. Took me to a show. He knew a publicist. He knew Past and De La Soul. She introduced me in Past, and kind of the rest is history.
Wow. That's amazing.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. Now I have to ask a question because this has been said before. Are you a cousin to Paz?
I don't know who made that up. No.
Because you know, every once in a while, I see that pop up, and I've never seen anything to validate that. So we got to ask directly.
Yeah, no, we're not. Pas's younger brother, Lucky, we're best friends, and we have a business together still today in 2022. But no, we're not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Interesting. And then from there, you had that 12-inch that everybody knows about, Like This.
And you like my style.
And with the B side, yes, you like my style, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting, right? And you had the Beat Miners on there who are also on your new album.
Right.
Was that your first time working with them?
Well, I used to live with the Beat Miners when I was young. So after De La, came back to Philly. I kind of Richard Nichols had like a house for artists. Questlove lived there, Jazzy Nasties. So I lived there
Wow.
for a little while. Then I
Hmm.
moved to Brooklyn with the Beat Miners because they were supposed to sign a label deal. So I was just going to go out there, stay with them for a little while until they got their deal. Then I would have got my own apartment, but unfortunately, their label deal fell through. That was like around 95. Things were changing in the industry, and so I ended up still staying with them, working on a few different projects with them, and then I came back to Philly and kind of lived there after that.
Okay. Hmm.
Mhm.
Now, I was also talking about some of the ad libs that we heard you on,
Yeah,
and ego tripping was a big
that's
one.
the
And
queen.
yeah,
Well, recording De La's album, I was there for all the sessions. So whether I was really rhyming or not, I just was there. So I think that kind
Mhm.
of lent to the convenience of me just being there for a lot of the ad libs, and then them, kind of telling me that I was gonna actually rhyme on In the Woods. But I was just always there, so it was convenient.
Okay. Nice, nice, nice. And your 12-inch single got re-released about 2 years ago through
Hmm.
German label Vinyl Digital.
Hmm.
Wh-
Yes,
how did that come to be?
they reached out to me and just asked me, they said they were interested in re-releasing it. And then based on the success of that and, us building our relationship, then they invited me to, record more, music with them, which is how
Mhm.
Here Goes Nothing kind of came about. Obviously I never put an album out. So I never really had the interest. The record industry hasn't been super kind to me as it has to most women. So
Mhm.
I was always getting money somewhere else. Um, Vinyl Digital just made it really easy and convenient to do an album. It was easy. It was COVID. Nothing was really going on. So I was just in
Yeah,
the house writing, and then with a small circle, I could still go into the studio and just knock out what I had to knock out.
yeah.
Hmm.
And let's talk about your writing process.
Hmm.
How has that changed from in the past till now?
No, not at all. I'll be tasked with writing things, and I usually listen to. Sometimes when I listen to hip hop, as I listen to other people, words and phrases and ideas just pop into my mind.
Mhm.
Um, Back in the day, I would write them down. Now I put them on my phone, even if it's just a line. Sometimes I'll listen to something someone says, and it'll just spark an idea in my head, a line that's dope, and then I will save it. And I might end up having 16 lines or 10 lines, and then it's really easy for me to just put the whole verse together because I already have things I want to say. So it's just a matter of kind of saying what I want to say and putting it all together so it flows.
Okay,
Hmm.
nice, nice. And for those who have heard the album, they know that her lyrics are still timeless. Like
Yeah, I mean,
everything you hear on there, it sounds like you haven't missed a step.
I got a lot to say. So I get it out that way.
Mhm. Yeah, it's great. So aside from MCing, talk about some of the other things you've been doing. Because
Yeah,
as I was mentioning before,
busy.
doing the remodeling of homes, you said that you helped a friend out with a house before, and
Hmm.
then that sparked you wanting to do the same thing, and that
Yeah,
pretty much branched out into ownership of other homes and doing the same thing.
right. So I've always I've always needed to live in a beautiful space. I'm a Libra, so I'm creative and I need a beautiful space. I don't care. I can live in a projects and you'd be like, oh my God, this is fabulous. Like I just like a nice space.
Mhm.
So um every home I've had, I've always fixed up. and made nice, even if it was just an apartment. And so I had a friend who, she was like, oh my God, I love your apartment. And, you know, when I get my own place, and her father passed away and left her house. So I fixed up her house, and I was just looking at it like, she has no mortgage and her house is more fabulous than mine. I pay rent. So I started to, you know, kind of say, okay, I can do this. And then that really built my confidence. Each project I do builds my confidence, you know, to renovating entire homes. So, you know, like I said, I have a company with Lucky, and we have a real estate investment company. And so we buy, you know, properties, distressed properties, and rehab them, and either provide affordable rent for, you know, women, mothers, you know, or whoever needs, you know, just an affordable apartment. I don't beat people over the head. Or we'll flip them for, you know, first time home buyers to, you know, be able to have a, you know, a nice, beautiful space that's affordable.
That's great. That's great. And from the pictures I've seen, you're not just coordinating, you're hands-on.
Oh yeah, I know OSHA 30 and everything. I don't play no games. I'm taking Spanish now so I can, you know, get my crew together.
That's great. Yeah, that's all around.
But that's the thing, like hip hop is, you know, I love hip hop, you know, from a love perspective. And honestly, this album was for the fans, because hip hop has never been like my main bread and butter, you know. So I always have to have lots of different hustles. So hip hop is more a love. I do it for that, you know.
Interesting. You know, that's great to be diverse like that and skilled at the same time.
Yeah, and to have that flexibility. I would hate to be stuck in one thing, and if that doesn't work out, you know. You should always have an A plan, a B plan, a C plan, and a D plan.
Right. Yeah. And speaking of which, you're cooking.
Oh Lord. Yes, I love to cook. Oh, you saw the video. I got you. Yeah. Yeah, no,
Is cupcakes and cheesecakes one of your favorites?
I like cupcakes, but I'm a cupcake snob. So yeah, I love a cupcake, but it better be a good cupcake.
Good cupcake.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was your decision in eating clean, going vegan? Almost 10 years ago now?
Yeah, so I'm not vegan now. I was.
Okay.
Really, Forks Over Knives. I saw the documentary, and I was like, oh, so it wasn't, yeah, it was more a I mean, and I can get into the whole. I'm like a big conspiracy theorist, so. But I
opened your eyes.
I just don't think that our America really cares about us the way that we should care about ourselves. So I say that to say, if you can't pronounce it, I don't think you should be eating it. So Forks Over Knives, I just saw how people were just really healthy. And then, honestly, it wasn't even to lose weight, but I went vegan and I think I lost like 30 pounds. Like, it was nuts. I was like, oh, wow, you know. So the hard part about being vegan, though, is options. You know, if you live in a really high-end area, you'll have lots of options to make it easy. But when you live in a middle class or lower middle class neighborhood, you don't have a lot of options for, you know, healthy food. And so what happens is, if you want to become vegan, you better know how to cook, number one, or you better have a lot of money to get prepared food that's healthy, you know. So it's very time consuming. I go back and forth mainly based on my schedule, because sometimes I just don't have the time to prepare all, you know, that food, you know. So even when I'm not vegan, though, I eat very clean, you know.
Clean,
so,
okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, because the big issue is what's referred to as food deserts, you know, and you were explaining the availability of the healthy food.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
The next step, which, you know, there's certain communities that do it, they try and create their own gardens.
Yes, and that
And
definitely is my plan down the line, you know.
hmm
But it's expensive to eat healthy as well. It's easy
hmm
to just get whatever quick but oh, so
yeah, not every place has a farmer's market, which is
mm-mm.
helps out a lot with me. I've
Yeah.
been vegan since 2016 now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I know
Yeah.
you've noticed differences,
hmm
in your health, weight, everything.
Yeah.
I definitely felt better, when I,
hmm
was eating vegan. I was more hungry though. And so then you just constantly have to, prepare food. So you meal
Yeah.
prepping is great if you have the time to do it, but I have the
Yeah.
time to do it. I can't imagine being a single mother with 3 kids who don't eat vegan. And then I got to meal prep and work, 40 hours a week, 50 if I'm traveling, you know, God bless you
Yeah.
because it's rough.
Yeah. I make my own trail mix with almonds, cashews, sunflower seeds, and cranberries, dry
And that's
cranberries.
awesome. But how much does that cost you?
It's not too bad because I have
Right.
yeah, I usually get them from like a Trader Joe's
Yeah.
or
Trader Joe's.
Aldi's.
But some people
hmm
don't even have a Trader Joe's.
Right. hmm
So
Yeah, because the local supermarket will be pretty expensive when it comes to buying nuts.
crazy. And now,
hmm Yeah, very interesting. And with the cooking,
mhm.
I noticed that I can relate because I have food allergies,
Yeah.
and I know what I read about with your son, and one of my sons has an issue too with food allergies.
Okay, so my son was allergic to milk, eggs, peanuts, tree nuts, fish, shellfish. like, so that was a lot of two to start in our family to start eating, cleaner.
hmm
We were forced. Wasn't no, oh, just make some mac and cheese or, no. I had
hmm
to prepare food for him because he was allergic to everything. I mean,
Yeah, that's
everything.
hard.
And even if it wasn't, I mean, we've definitely had our anaphylaxis hospitalization,
hmm
oh crap, he found a peanut when he was 3, but even just regular foods would break him out and milk and his eczema and, as a baby, just the rashes and honestly,
Wow.
all of that was cleared up by his diet.
hmm
So that's where we really just get into, how foods affect us and
Yeah.
just eating clean and living healthy. He's 17 now, so he can handle it and navigate. But growing up, oh Lord, I had to cook everything. So, I mean, I liked to cook before, but I
Mhm.
really got into cooking when I became a mom because I had to.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And they had to pay. You had to read more about the ingredients of things, even more so.
And then things, your son could have, your child could have a milk allergy, and you don't even realize that hot dogs or lunch meat, they put, um, milk protein in as a preservative to preserve
hmm
meat. A perfect example is if we go to a higher end restaurant and if he likes pork, so if he has ribs or he'll be fine. But if he eats just um, a takeout or a name brand pre-packaged, it has preservative in it. Like his stomach will be trash. So, but it's the preservatives, it's calcium that affects him that way. So I'm
Wow.
telling you, they'll feed us anything.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Like,
move with some goats, um, vegetables. I want some chickens and some vegetables. Leave me alone. I'll call you. Don't call me.
yeah, that's the next step to have your own farm, right?
There you go. Yes.
hmm Yeah. It's a food business. Like that's they're there to make the money.
And the health insurance and the medical, like everything's
Oh,
all tied together. They're not going to make money if you're healthy. So they need to keep
yeah.
you unhealthy so they can keep
hmm
making money. Again, now let me get into my conspiracy theory.
And continue speaking on with your son. He
Yes.
is a producer.
Yeah.
on the new album. Actually, he produced the majority of the album.
Oh no. He just did one song. He did create the
Oh, it
group.
was one song? Oh,
But
okay. I'm
he
sorry.
is currently working on new music for me. Again, this album was two reasons. One, for the fans, they were still asking they could have it. Number two, it was my opportunity for him to kind of get his foot in the door with something that he loves to do. So, I did that for him.
Yeah, that's great learning experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though he's failing music theory, I'm like, how are you failing music theory and you got an album? Like, he's like, I should get credit for that. I'm like, yeah, no.
And on the new album, Here Goes Nothing, it was mixed by an engineer, producer, and MC that we had interviewed on the show, Jake Palumbo.
Awesome. Yay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've met him before in person too. He's a great guy, man.
He's a great guy, and he loves hip hop. And he's so supportive of artists, and yes, he's the best. I love Jake. I'm so glad that I got, like, this is the first time me working with him, and I could just see, like, I'll continue to work with him because he's just so supportive and so professional.
Yes, he is. Yep. And that's why Space Lab Recordings continues to have people get their albums mixed over there.
I know. In a minute, it'll be hard for me to put time in there.
So how did the two of you meet up?
Walt and Evil D had just started working with him a little bit before that.
Okay.
I would always record my videos at Walt and Eve's house and do pre-production, but I needed to mix and I needed to master. So I had to come to the studio at that point. And he's actually not far from them. So they had started a relationship with him, and then I was like, okay, I work with him, and it was a great experience.
Wow. That's great. Mm-hmm. Keep it all in the family.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love that you started that album with the Fife clip.
Yeah, it just seemed appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Everyone was asking for new music, including him. So, yeah.
So what was the initial spark to create Here Goes Nothing? Was it
really, it was Vinyl Digital, really just supporting me and really making the process easy, They just really showed me how I could do it, and it was simple, So at that point, I had to get over a lot of my own things in my own head. When you're an artist in the 90s, you have an idea of how it is to release an album. And in 2022, 21, it's a totally different business. You don't have to get a major deal. You don't have to have all the things that you used to have. And then also kind of get out of my own head of, I ain't no spring chicken. So, do you hear me? I don't know. The YouTube video that kind of like blew up, a lot of the fans and the comments in there, they really they encouraged me, and like they were the ones that made me say, okay, I'll do this, because it was new fans that had never heard of me, and they were like, oh my God, who is she? I want to hear more. And I was like, well, if you never heard of me and you want to hear more, what's the difference if I was a new artist? That means you want to genuinely hear more, So I was like, okay, well, there goes nothing. And then Vinyl Digital just made it really easy.
Easy? Mm-hmm. That's great. Cool. Now, if you don't mind, I would like to go track by track, and you just tell me, one pinnacle thing that, that comes to mind with that track. Okay. So we're going to go with the first one, Sunday in October.
Well, I think that one's kind of obvious, the Fife thing. And then I definitely wanted music behind it. I chose that track because I felt like it was kind of Tribe-esque in the production. Even my flow is a little bit different in that I made some references, Swing with the Same Lefty Behind My Back, which is the same look that was Prince with, Price. So I tried to play off of, some of the things Price said that pertain to my life.
And track 2, Who's Shortie?
Who's Shortie was kind of like an introduction for people who were new to hearing about Shorty No More. Not so much the old Roots, De La, those fans. This was people who maybe heard me through that, algorithm, YouTube algorithm for the first time. They're like, oh, she's dope. Who's she? This was kind of letting you know, who I am.
Yeah. Great track. And I remember that sample too from another song. I think it was maybe like the late 90s or early 2000s that used that similar sample.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And track 3, Identity Crisis.
Identity Crisis was actually written in 2007. It is in 2007. The way I was feeling at that time was, okay, well, if you want to come out and be mainstream and be on the radio, you have to be this kind of rapper as a female. And you might make more money and you might get more fame, but you won't be respected for skills. Or you can rhyme, kind of be a tomboy, have skills, and get respect, but you might not make as much money. And who I am, I want to be pretty. I want to be, feminine and be a girl, but I also want to be respected for my skills too. So does that mean I have to be a boy, a tomboy, or there's so many layers to me. But which one do you choose for hip hop? I mean, like you've touched on a lot of things in my life, like cooking or being a mom, or these are all things that I am in my head every day. I have to drywall a basement and make sure everyone ate dinner, and then I got to interview with Shorty No More at 8:00. Like, so it's like identity crisis. I'm like wearing a lot of hats.
Yeah, and
I think a lot of women are. I think
yeah, definitely.
So which way to go? Mainstream, and be super sexual, or straight hip hop? Look what they play on the radio. Look who gets the Super Bowl ads. Look who gets it's the super sexual, sexy. It's not the man. She's a dope MC. So which way do you?
Yeah, and the thing is, there's plenty of talented MCs out there that don't have to go and do all of that, but the way the industry portrays women is you have to be one or the other.
To take it a step further, there's a lot of talented female MCs who feel like they have to go in that direction just to be successful.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Okay. Track 4, Here Goes Nothing.
Oh, that's just here we go. This is it. Take it here we go, jumping off the cliff. So that just embodies everything about, even everything we spoke about in the interview. I wasn't gonna put the album out. Well, that wasn't my, main concern. But here it is. Here it is, 30 years later. Why not? I ain't got shit to lose, right? That's what I said in the thing. I was like, y'all asked for it. Here it goes.
Track 5, one of my favorites, Tragic Charade.
Yeah, so I hate social media. I mean, I'll just tell you straight off the bat. It's just such a charade to me. And I feel like if I literally went out tomorrow and bought a Lamborghini truck and moved into a mansion and just posted on social media, I'd get like 30,000 followers. And it wouldn't have anything to do with any substance. It wouldn't have to
Right.
do with MC. I'm a nice person. I'm a good person. Nothing. I could literally not be able to spell. I see some people who literally, they can't spell, but they have tons of followers because they live this life that people want to emulate. And that's really what Tragic Charade was. It was like, people either get that and get that song and love it, or it's like, but I think it really takes, I feel like the intelligent people love that song because I think they're really listening to what I'm saying.
What you're saying. Mm-hmm.
I think they get it,
Yeah. Instead of taking advantage of technology, you're letting the technology take advantage of you.
What is going on? Like, I literally feel like we're in the Twilight Zone right now.
Track 6, Creating Greatness.
Well, that I just created my son, and he's great. So I'm a mom. I have to brag. So yes, that was Creating Greatness. That's the track he produced. And if you listen to the lyrics, you're like, oh, her son. When you get that my son produced it, and then you listen to the lyrics, it all makes sense.
It makes sense. Mm-hmm.
I'm just a bragging mom at that point.
Nothing wrong there.
There you go.
Track 7, Can't Get Enough of Me.
So I hate hip hop love songs. I think they're the corniest thing in the world. But I felt like that was a dope way to kind of show the sexy side of me without being sexual. Does that make sense? You can't get enough. You listen to the lyrics, you're like, okay, I get it, but without being overtly sexual. I'm still a woman,
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be a woman, and I want to rhyme about things that women like to be sexy and pretty and, all those things. But I feel like as an MC, if you rhyme about that, it could be real corny or very cliche. So I feel like Can't Get Enough of Me was like finally a dope way that I could do it. Because everything else I had tried before, it ended up in the trash can. So this was like, okay. Okay, this is dope. I like this. Okay, this is good.
So no Method Man and Mary J. Blige for you?
Yeah, when you have duets, I like them. But sometimes they can be like, I don't know. Anytime I tried to write them, I was like, oh, that's corny. God.
Track 8, Body Move.
Body Move was every time I would go to a club, I had these slow ass hip hop songs, and my DJ friends never played my songs because there was nothing no one could dance to. So here was my opportunity, and they could play in the club, and people could be like, "Oh, okay," and yeah. Nobody wants to hear you like my style in the middle of a fucking party at a club. Okay. Unless it's like the club's closing, it's like last call. So that was my version of that.
And the last track 9, Inspiration, one of my favorites.
Yeah,
and it speaks to a lot of MCs, a lot of women MCs.
Yeah, I know that. Like, you asked me what was my process for writing rhymes. Is hearing something else and getting inspired by something someone said. So that's me just saying, I hope that I can be that for someone else and inspire them to want to do something great or write something or, whatever. Or even if it's just you listen to my music, I have a lot of skateboarders. I have a lot of artists who will maybe they might do a TikTok or they might use my music in the background as they're, doing their craft and being creative and doing what they love. So, I love that. Those are the like tags when people tag me that like really they inspire me, that I'm inspiring, them. Even people who ask to do interviews, for the most part, unless I'm busy, I always say yes because there's so many people out here hustling, trying to do what they love, and even if it's a podcast or if it's an interview or you got a radio show you're trying to, do, if I can help, I'm in, like I just want to support everyone and inspire them to, be the best at what they love doing.
That's great. That's great. And we didn't speak on the other producers on the album yet. You have DJ Rel, who's affiliated with the Beat Miners.
That's Mr. Walt's son.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the kids. The kids got the chance to get on the album.
And you also have J-Zone.
Yeah, so I worked with J-Zone in 2007, and I had done a bunch of stuff with him. When Vinyl Digital first hit me, they were like, "Oh, well, do you want to do an EP or an album?" And at first, I was like, "I'll just do an EP because that was just easy." And then going through some stuff, I found all these old tracks from 2007. I was like, "Oh, I never used these. These are dope." And I was like, "All right, well, I'll do an album because it'll just be easy for me." These songs were already kind of done. Some of them I had to record over or just kind of tweak a little, but for the most part, I had worked with J-Zone, and I always loved those tracks. So I was like, I didn't want them to not, get some shine.
Cool. Shout out J-Zone. He's on another level now as far as with the drumming.
I know, and now he doesn't even do beats. So he's just like, "Yeah, I don't care. Like, if you want to." He's like, "I just sold my SP. I don't have the tracks." And he's like, "I have them." And it was like, "Ooh." Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying what he's been doing recently too. With
definitely.
The do-rights as well.
He seems to love, so.
Yeah. Also, something else that you're about to bestow onto the world, the whole NFT.
Yes. So Rockwilder, he asked me if I wanted to kind of get down with EQ Exchange, what he was doing. So he kind of plugged me with the people at EQ Exchange. So not 100% sure. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to do it, but I'm not 100% like knowledgeable about it yet. But I'm always open to future advancements. So if that's the way the future is going, I'm getting right on board. Let's go, So as much as I don't like social media, I love technology when it's used responsibly. I kind of like what EQ Exchange is doing, just in terms of supporting artists as well. From that perspective, they're very artist supportive, as opposed to a lot of these streaming services that aren't.
Yeah.
So, I don't quite understand buying something that doesn't exist yet. So we'll you circle back and chat about that later. But interesting. People buying like houses and real estate that doesn't really exist. So we'll figure it.
Everything virtual, just
I love virtual reality. I go fishing every night in virtual reality. Like, I love it. It calms me. I put on my goggles and I go fishing. Like, I like virtual reality. I don't understand purchasing digital items yet because digital items can be duplicated.
Right.
So I'm just curious to see. I'm very curious and I'm on board. Let me just say that. So I'm here for it. Let's see. Yeah. At some point I'll get it.
And you said that this is through EQ Exchange, which is, I believe the director is Matt Fingers, who I remember Matt Fingers from back in the day with putting out music.
Yep. And then another guy, he works with Juju on the beats. I guess he does stuff for Megan Thee Stallion. So it's like a good mix of industry people. I think another
Hmm.
guy who's an engineer, I think he worked with Jay-Z. So there's definitely knowledgeable people involved in it. So I'm excited.
That's great.
Hmm.
Cool, cool. Now you said this album is for the fans, but
Hmm.
aside from being for the fans, how did you feel when you made this album?
Uh, well, if you listen to the lyrics on my songs, I say I'm my own worst critic numerous times. So I don't listen to it. I don't listen to it. Sometimes I listen. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to hear it. There are a few songs. Well, I think my son could have gave me a better beat, which he did give me a better beat after, of course. And I'm like, but he's young and he has to
Mhm.
go through his. I think he might have kind of cracked a little under pressure. It was the first time, and I think he was like, oh my god. And
Okay.
so I think he's more relaxed now, because the tracks he's giving me now, I'm like, whoa, where was this? There was another song, and I will not say which one it is, but I was really annoyed by it because it was supposed to have a chorus on it, and it doesn't. And I'm not going to get into why it doesn't, but I'm not happy about it. So when I hear it, it annoys me. Um,
Hmm.
but I also know that I hit it in the woods with De La Soul. And then when it came out, everyone loved it. And now I love it. I think it's one of the best verses ever. I'm the worst critic to listen to my stuff. So, it's funny because when it came out, me and Moni are cool. And I hit Moni and I was like, when you put albums out, I was like, do you love every song? She was like, no. She was like, just put it out.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. So,
Wow.
and yeah, some songs I don't like, people love. So, and some songs I love, people don't like. So, go figure. I don't know.
Mm. So it could be possible some songs that you never put out could have been great,
Could be.
or it could have been the opposite.
You'll never
You
know.
never know.
They're in some landfill somewhere. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I
Now
always
tell us.
try to bring my best. Don't we all,
Yeah.
right? We all
Yeah.
do, right? So they're good enough that they got in the studio and actually recorded them. And listen, when I found those songs from 2007, there were a lot of songs. There were 2 songs that were produced by Jazzy Jeff. I didn't use them. So there's stuff out there I just haven't put out.
Mm. Mm.
Mhm.
Now tell us the story of how you almost were signed to Def Jam.
Uh, so it was right after De La's album. There was a lot of buzz. Who's this girl on De La Soul's album? I did not go on the first leg of the tour with De La Tribe Called Quest. I actually stayed and started to record my album. But it was like slow, and I did get the contract, and my lawyer and Doc Jam were
Mm.
negotiating it. So during that time, they were like, "Oh, well, you might as well come on tour." So I ended up going on tour while it was being negotiated. Um, Came home, and then my lawyer just was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I called, and I hadn't heard anything, so I called Def Jam, and they were like, 'Oh, we're not interested anymore.'" So I called Paz. Paz said it was Chris Lighty. Chris Lighty said it was Paz. So you would have to ask them.
Oh, wow. Now, since you're into the remodeling, what's your favorite store? Home Depot or Lowe's?
Lowe's for design, Home Depot for stock and prices.
Ah,
I literally might be at Home Depot every day, sometimes twice a day. And yes, I went today. And yes, I went yesterday. I admitted to that. I
your
don't think
second
I have
home.
to go tomorrow because I think I got everything I needed today for tomorrow. But yeah, so And I'm just
That's
doing
just
a
like,
light renovation right now. I'm about to do a full gut rehab. Sometimes I don't use Home Depot and Lowe's though. Sometimes I use like lumber companies or,
mm-hmm.
kind of depending on like the order. Drywall lumber. Sometimes I use the more professional, industry places. But Home Depot got everything you need. They don't always have it in stock. Sometimes you got to go to the good neighborhood to get the
Mm-hmm.
good stuff. And it's cleaner in the good neighborhoods. You go to the hood, they don't even help you.
Mm-hmm. Got fend for yourself.
Yes, you do.
Now, while we still on this topic, let's talk about generational wealth with
Oh,
your business and your son, because this is an important topic that I think a lot of families should be speaking of with their children around.
oh, my son is involved. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to kind of get into like the family business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's important for him to know what we do. It's hard, especially managing tenants, and paying bills. You know how many bills I pay? You know how many water bills I pay a month? Like so I'll sit him down and I'll be like I literally have to show him like I'm paying multiple water bills,
Mm-hmm.
um, homeowners insurance on everything. Like you guys would not believe like the amount of mail and bills. Like it literally is like stack. I get like stacks. Like um, it's just and I have to use spreadsheets because it's just so much.
Much. Mm-hmm.
So, but I sit him down and I show him. I know he thinks I'm crazy, but um, so anytime we have a new property or new project we're working on, I get him involved in the small jobs, if he's painting or cleaning up, demo, stuff like that. Um, I I don't want my son to work for anyone. um,
Okay.
I have worked for people myself. His father worked for people, but how many times do you just work for someone? You're just working to make someone else's either dream come true or make them a lot of money. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like disrespectful to yourself in the sense that, sometimes the way that a lot of these bosses or managers are just programmed, just our society, like to treat people under them like crap.
Under the. Mm-hmm.
Like I just don't want my son to have to. I do believe that my son has to experience that to an extent, right? So my son, once I don't want him to work while he's in school, but in the summer, like he will do like maybe a Target job or, I definitely want him to experience what the real workplace is so he can
Yeah.
understand why it's so important that he can't be there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these jobs they're not even paying a livable wage. Like, somebody I know was offered a job at the school district for $22,000 and they have a degree. Like, no one can live on that. I was just reading an article that they said we're literally about to have a teaching shortage because the classes that, students would take going into college to become teachers, people don't want to do it. Well, why would you want to do it? It's an ungrateful job. It's low pay. You can't pay your bills. They're asking you to buy the supplies down to like, I remember when my son was in regular school, we had to buy like Clorox wipes. Like when we went to school, we had a janitor and he had a closet of stuff.
Yeah.
Now these kids are getting lists with like Clorox wipes and paper
Yeah.
towels and tissues.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you want to be a teacher? So what's happening is a lot of people are like, I don't want to be a damn teacher. I'll be a nurse because at least a nurse, I could work overtime and make $100,000 a year with overtime. Or so, but what are you all going to do when no one's there to watch your kids while you're at work all day? Because the kids,
Right.
who's going to teach them? Who's going to work at the
Mm-hmm.
schools? So my son needs to understand that how crappy it is so he can understand why he needs to work harder. But I don't care. I'm setting him up so that he don't have to work. Because how about this? My family is white, so I can say this. I reserve the right to say this. But a lot of wealthy white families set it up for their kids, so they're just good.
Mm-hmm.
You go work for your dad's company, or you go work for, So why should it be any different for our people? You know? So no, I'm gonna set up a business, and my son's gonna work. He ain't gonna just be like off gallivanting, traveling the world. Like, no, he will work.
You still got to work, yeah.
You still got to work, but yeah, I'm going to have a place for you to work. And guess what? Your work is going to be appreciated. And when you work and your work is appreciated, you work 10 times harder. Absolutely. I don't want my son to work somewhere where if one of his kids has 103 fever, they're like, oh, well, you don't have any PTO. No, I need to take care of my kid. And that's the society we live in. So that's generational wealth. Making sure that your kids don't have to be belittled or disrespected or, not treated basically like a human being, a parent, a husband, wife, whatever. They can have options. And I'll tell you another thing. If you working for a company and you're living check to check to check to check, you better have something generational wealth going on, B plan, because everybody is one check away from it all falling apart.
Being gone. Mm-hmm.
So how great would it be if we do buy properties for our kids, or if we do have our own property, so that if they do get laid off just because their boss doesn't like them, whatever, right? That your bills will still be paid while you're trying to get on to the next thing, I do believe in working, right? You need a retirement. You might have a great job, and it might have a pension. You might have a 401k. So there are reasons to work for a company, but that cannot be your only thing, because they will, they don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. No one cares. You better care. Care about yourself and care about your kids,
Yeah. Yeah. All they care is that you do your work, and that's it.
I'm super passionate about that one, because listen, everybody's talking about reparations and everything else. You know how much extra money we got with stimulus packages, unemployment, like during this whole pandemic? I've seen so many people at the mall lined up for Louis Vuitton and Gucci, and oh my God, you know what I did with my stimulus package? I bought a duplex.
Investment.
I bought a duplex. You know what I mean? So guess what? That will continue to pay me and my family until I sell it. And even now it's appreciated. With the housing market, it's already appreciated 100%. So I don't care about a Gucci belt. Oh my God, no. Like, and listen, I love nice things. I love nice things. I love them. I got Gucci bags, I got Louis Vuitton, all that. But I don't have it at the expense of not being able to make sure that my family is going to be okay on a bad day. Mm-hmm. You see this inflation lately,
Ridiculous.
Groceries. Like, I'm walking out with like $35 and like I got two things. I went in for chicken and I went in for like something else. Like, no one cares, and no one's coming to your rescue. So you better save yourself. And that Gucci belt ain't gonna feed you, and the Gucci belt ain't gonna make you no money. So if you want a Gucci belt, buy a property that has residual income. Use your residual income to buy the Gucci belt.
Yep. There you go.
There you go.
Great talk. Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
I hope a lot of people paid attention to this last portion, because that is vital, what you were just speaking of.
Listen, it is so. If everyone has not realized through this pandemic, through our economy shutting down, through this inflation, through supply chain shortages, that all of this literally could crumble at a moment's notice, then you're not going to get it. And it's not for everyone to get. So, but I tell my tenants that they should buy homes. Like, who does that, right? Because you want your tenants to pay you rent, right? But I try to rent to a lot of single mothers, first-time renters, they're like, oh my God, thanks for taking a chance on me. But I always tell them, girl, let this be temporary. Like, your goal for you and your kids should be a home that's going to appreciate and value. I'll get another tenant. That's fine. My girlfriends, everything, girls younger than me, they call me up all the time. Hey, getting ready to buy a house? Yeah, buy a duplex so then you don't have to pay a mortgage. Let the people upstairs pay your mortgage. I wish I had someone to tell me this. But I was definitely paying rent for a while.
Yeah.
Sometimes, so.
Yep.
Yeah, house hack.
Yep. Because that's actually, the next step me and my fiance we're working on right now is exactly what you're talking about. And we're going through the steps now.
And listen, we were able to just really get financial security because my husband's family had a home. So we live in a beautiful home with no mortgage. Wouldn't it be great if all of our kids had the option to live in a house with no rent, no mortgage because we left it to them?
Left it. Yeah.
And so even if you're not into real estate, right? Even if you don't want to be a developer or a landlord or all that, right? You got to buy a home because a lot of white America's wealth comes from their homes, right? Because their kids grow up, their kids get jobs and they buy homes. And then their parents pass away. They could either rent that home and get monthly income, or they could sell that home and make a profit because that mortgage was paid off, or pay off your mortgage to make it easier on you. But you have that real estate that's appreciated in value so that you have an option. So many of our people don't have that option. If you have a 30-year mortgage and you bought it when you were 20, then you don't have a mortgage when you're 50. And then when you pass away, your kids have a whole property that they could sell for profit.
Yeah.
And that is where generational wealth comes from, having profit. Life insurance, great. Okay, that's great. But usually home values, my grandparents bought their house for $30,000. And when they sold it, it was worth $2.3 million because houses appreciate. The house we live in now, I think my husband's parents bought for like $12,000 in obviously 1972. It, trust me, is not worth $10,000, and neighborhoods change. And listen, it's not rocket science, but you have to want to learn it too. So some people don't want to learn. So
yeah, you're definitely in the right business, and I think it doesn't matter what decade it is. Property management that's the place to be.
Yeah, and listen, it's not for everybody. It's not. I get them tenants calling me. I'm like, but I love them. You get on my nerves sometimes, but I love them. I love them so much. They call me now and they're like, girl, you got anything? Like, I'm like, I don't even have, I wish I had the amount of apartments for people who call me and ask me. I'm like, I don't have anything. So. But I like to make beautiful spaces too. I'm not a slumlord. I'm not just going to stick you in there with an ugly refrigerator and some dirty cabinets. I'm going to make it pretty. So because I want you to make a home and I want you to appreciate it and I want you to value it. So stay, and you don't want to leave, So.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Not too many people have that mindset.
Because at the end of the day, I'm not in it. Like I'm not gonna beat people over the head with rent because I want you to be able to pay your rent, so you stay. And I'm more in it for the appreciation and the equity and the property as opposed to the actual month to month. Obviously the month to month is good, but I'm more in it for the appreciation value of the actual property. So one day I will cash out. I will buy my lake house. I will have chickens. I will have goats. I will have a organic vegetable garden. I will compost. And as long as I have internet, I'll continue to rhyme and do Zoom and StreamYard interviews, but leave me alone.
There you go.
There you go.
Shortie no mas, everyone.
This is a good interview. You talked about different things. I hate when people ask me the same questions. So thank you for that.
You're definitely welcome. And I enjoyed the interview, and you actually educated me a little bit more on the process. So I thank you for that as well.
Need any advice, I'm always available.
Definitely. I'll take that into consideration. Like I said, I'm in the early steps right now. So if I have any questions,
Hit me up.
definitely. Now, for everyone that's out there, if you haven't heard the album yet, Here Goes Nothing, go check it out. Trust me, it's worth your time.
I hope you enjoy it.
And as with all our artists, DJs, producers that we have guests on the show, let the people know where they can go and reach out to listen to the new album
Uh,
and where they can reach out to you.
so Shortie No Mas with two S's. It's most of my social media is SHortieNoMass. Except for Twitter, I only got one S there. ShortieNomas.com, ShortieNomass.com, and Spotify, Shortie No Mas, Apple Music. So all of the, Bandcamp. There you go. So check me out. And I have new music coming soon. So as soon as I have 2 seconds to sit down and finish writing it.
There you go. Great interview.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
And on behalf of all our HHDG media crew, we're going to say peace.
Peace.